almost 20 years now. So I kind of just did a little deep dive. Some of this is very personal, so that's why I said, please unmic if you have questions or you want to add something or you think I'm missing something. This to me is not me lecturing. This should be a little bit more interactive. Okay. Intrinsic versus extrinsic motivation. I just want to do quick little add on to that. I just want to, there's kind of two different parts to the why. So the intrinsic is obviously coming from inside you. It, for me and reading up, you tend to be a little bit more engaged in the activity and you get much more personal satisfaction out of it. The extrinsic, the external factors, we're going to go over those in a little bit. And two parts of it, both for racing and training, intrinsically and then extrinsically, motivational factors. Okay. Intrinsic motivational benefits. Okay. Intrinsic is generally leads to greater persistence. So if you have that intrinsic, and we're going to talk about some of what they might be, when you set up your why, rather than just having your workout, multiple layers, training and racing, the motivation leads to greater persistence. Like we all know those, you know, when the alarm goes off at 4:30 for that cold water swim or getting to the pool, if you live in cold weather, getting into your car. If you have your why, it just helps you kind of get your foot onto the floor when the alarm goes off and get into the car and get to your workout. Or if it's a long Friday night and you got to get up early to get your long ride in or a different workout, you know, having your why set up, for me, at least personally, have always helped me make sure that I got my workouts in. If you're here, generally you have a solid plan. So, you know, you can look at your week or 2 weeks or a month out and you can kind of see what your plan is and you can plan life. A plan's great, but you actually have to do the workouts and as often as you can keep them in the right order to maximize your benefit. And so having your whys in place kind of helps you through the rough parts. Okay. I have found that intrinsically they help me on the days I don't want to do the workouts. Extrinsically, you know, when you're having a great day that you can think a little bit further along, you know, you want a medal, you want a PR, there's a lot of other things that go on. So, so I I'm just kind of babbling a little bit because I thought it just was a little bit better this way. Intrinsic, it helps your learning, helps self-improvement. People advance far faster at tasks that they're intrinsically motivated at. So if you have these intrinsic motivations and your whys are kind of set up, then you tend to advance faster and farther and you're dialed in to what you're looking to get done. Okay. This past Friday, new jobs numbers confirmed. Somebody's in the background. Extrinsic motivations. Okay. So benefits of extrinsic motivations are excellent productivity in the short term, not necessarily in the long term. It's harder extrinsically to do those things. Well, most people think of motivators certain ways like money and trophies. They can be other things such as fame or social things or acknowledgement from family, friends, people in town, things like this. I wouldn't say, I put why is extrinsic motivation bad? I don't think it's bad. I just think it's generally, as a rule of thumb, for why we're in it for long term, intrinsic works out a little bit better for what we're trying to get done. All right. So what's your why? So I just want to do intrinsic and extrinsic very quickly. And now we're kind of getting into the nuts and bolts of what we're really looking at for the why. And like I said, for me, this was very, very personal. Why I did it, where I started, and why I continue to do it. I found my why to evolve over the years and even through training cycles. The reason I decided to do this, to be honest with you, was during COVID, during this, I mean, it's been a year for us. Thursday, I'm a school teacher that they kind of sent us home and we taught remotely for 9 months. It changed. It changed my cycle. It changed my motivation. It changed my whys, you know, with races being canceled and everything kind of being changing, that we had to kind of reevaluate the why. For me personally, when I first started this in 2005, I did a short sprint. And then my why became, I want to do an Ironman. And I did it the next year. And my why was, I just wanted to finish. Like most people's, generally the first time they get into it, they're like, I just want to start it. I just want to finish it. But during COVID, it kind of, my why has changed a little bit. Some of the other whys that are in there: showing my kids that hard work to achieve a goal. As we all know, we all have these very detailed exercise plans, and we have short-term and long-term goals. My kids are older now, but when I started this way back in 2005, my kids were young. So I wanted to show them that if you set up a plan and you work toward, and you mark off different things of your plan, you can achieve, or hopefully achieve, the goal that you're looking for. Impressing friends, another part of some people's whys, mine too, maybe people you work with. Raising money for charities. When I first did this, my mother is a 23-year survivor of a liver transplant. So the very first Ironman I did all the way back in 2005 was for a charity for liver transplants. Again, whys are all different for each of us, and it's important to do it. As I got into it a little further, from 2005 to like 2010, and again, I'm doing this very personally, so feel free to chime in if you have something that you'd like to add to your why. I then decided I kind of wanted to take a crack and see if I could qualify for Kona. And to be honest, I had no idea what I was doing. My whys were all over the place. My why was qualifying for Kona. I just didn't have the plan to do it. And to be quite honestly, until I got hooked up with QT2, I was close, but I would have never gotten it on my own. It's the extra 5 to 10% that I think that Jesse and Tim are able to do with all our coaches that have allowed me to be successful. I cross my T's and I dot my I's. For the pure joy of exercising. That's actually what I found out during COVID. Like I had gotten very extrinsically motivated. I always wanted to show my kids some of those, the intrinsic ones were good for me. But I got to be honest, I lost a little bit of the pure joy of exercising, where I feel that that's a huge part of during COVID. I have seen people either really get into the training or kind of fall off. And I find it to be my relaxing place. When I go for a run or I go for a bike ride, it's where I find peace, joy. And normally there's always people talking around me. I actually find going for a bike ride by myself one of the most relaxing things that I do. So your why of doing these races and training may just be because you want to exercise and you want to be as fit as you can be at your age. Okay. Like the next is staying in shape or weight loss. Some is making friends. There's some really awesome clubs out there. I gotta be honest, I've made great friends with my athletes, and I've made great friends along the way. I mean, how many people have been, race morning and you meet some really cool people in transition, or you're out on the bike, you're in a run, you meet some really, really awesome people that are out there that you otherwise would have had no exposure to. And I love people. And so part of my why, I just like seeing people. I like seeing people succeed. I've never missed a midnight finish. So, I talk a little bit more from the Ironman side. I obviously do sprints. I do running races. I run marathons. One of my whys was I helped a blind man win the Boston Marathon last year. So there are other things I like to also, part of my why is to see other people succeed. It's not always, I've said me a lot, but a lot of what I do in this sport is for other people. Like I bring a pump to transition and let as many people as I possibly can use it that morning, because some people are frantic and, texts don't always have it. And to be honest, at the end, the very last one I put there, when I really got into it, I went through a divorce, and I had a lot of free time when I didn't have my kids. My ex is awesome. We got along and we shared our kids very well, but there's a lot of times you don't have the kids. So I threw myself into this for my why, to show them that, that I'm not just, going out and doing other things. So does anybody else want to share with anything I'm missing that somebody might want to add to, maybe want to share one of your whys of why you race or why you train? Man, you guys are a tough crew tonight. Maybe this isn't exactly. So I broke it down from big
Tim, I'll
wise.
throw one
Go
in.
ahead. Yeah, good.
Tim, I think one thing. I'm not sure if you covered it or not, but competition, it's a great motivator, and just being able to compete against your as well as against yourself.
Okay.
Personally, I had a very big part of.
Thank you for sharing. It's good. It's good. People, please feel free to share it. You know, I broke this down into training why and racing wise. So training why, and like I said, they develop and they evolve, and sometimes your whys can be small, segmented, and then you have year-long whys. Training wise, you friends with like-minded people. It's a lifestyle. It's a hobby. Depending on who you ask, maybe it's an addiction. Okay. But your training wise, a lot of times you just like to be around like-minded people. You find yourself, like any other hobby or lifestyle. I like to say it's a lifestyle. I didn't race. Obviously, no one really raced this past year, but I still swam. I still biked. I still ran, because for me, it helps me feel good. It's a stress relief for me. Getting in shape, staying in shape. Some of the things I've already kind of gone over. Improved performance. It's nice. We do a lot of heart rate training, but there's also a lot of power and time things out there. To see your power go up on the bike and your heart rate stay the same. It's a lot of the training wise. Okay. To have a goal to complete, to make sure you're doing all your workouts to get to that starting line in the best shape that you possibly can. It's one of my biggest training wise is, and it will transfer over to my race why is, when I get to the starting line, if somebody beats me, I'm like, they're better than me because I've done my race plan day in and day out to the best of my ability, from A to Z. That's training, nutrition, eating nutrition, and making sure I get my workouts in. Okay. Setting short-term and long-term goals for your training wise is very important. So understanding, the intrinsic and extrinsic parts of your why. And again, no one can define your why but you. And it's important to have some in there, and it's important to think about them and even possibly write them down. You can say whys are kind of like goals. It's a little different than that for me. I think of a why is a little bit more personal than goal setting. Enjoying the outdoors. There's always the good one, excuse to buy some new equipment. There's always nice to get a new pair of shoes or a new wetsuit or a new bike. And the training wise, it's fun. At the end of the day, I enjoy swimming outside. I do not enjoy swimming in a pool. I enjoy those long bike rides and seeing new places. And I enjoy running and feeling the fresh air and listening to music or being by yourself. So does anybody else have a training why that you think I'm missing or you'd like to add? No? Okay. Race wise. So race wise, I always start with, you want to finish the race. So whatever you're training for, whether it be a sprint, an Olympic, a half, or a full, you want to get to the starting line, healthy, and generally the first time around you want to finish. Some other race wise, the I am tattoos were huge at one point. So being able to say you accomplished it, get a finisher's medal. Sometimes race wise are vacation destinations. We spend a lot of time doing this. So talking your significant other into doing a race and then spending the next week after the race on vacation. So some race wise are vacation destinations. Some race wise the win or the place in your age group to get on the podium. Qualify for another race, so they're stepping stones, qualify for world championships, at the half, qualify for, anything. Some people race, for the money. If you're a pro or you're an elite age grouper, like I already said, moto. Go ahead. Some race wise to be faster than you were before. This one's a little bit harder, even if you race the same course. There's so many other factors, heat, wind, road conditions, but a lot of people do go to the course with the idea that they want to race faster than they did the year before on the same course. Race wise is to show your family why you're always training, what you're doing out there all the time, to kind of show off a little bit. One of my biggest things now, one of my race wise is, and I don't even know what it's going to be, is I have my kids and permanent marker write a message for me on my forearms and my hands the night before or the morning of the race, because my biggest why is my kids, for them to be there, for them to support me, because I support them through everything, knowing that they're there, knowing that they're watching me, knowing that they know what my goals are. And we all know it doesn't matter if you finish in 9 hours or 17 hours in an Ironman, or if you're doing a sprint, there's always those moments that it hurts like hell. I always, actually, to be honest with you, I find a 5K you hurt just as much in a 5K as you do as an Ironman. I mean, in a 5K, you hurt from 5 seconds into the end of the race. But remembering your why by writing them down on permanent marker, sometimes in a race helps. When you're in those dark, lonely places on a course and there's no one around, you're in between aid stations. It's good to look down and see your kid's handwriting or a significant other's handwriting on you, or just a message that you have for yourself, a positive why to why you're out there that day. And it kind of helps pick your spirits up a little bit as you go through it. Does anybody else have any other race whys that I'm missing? So I just want, what is your why? If you'd like to share, that'd be great. The reason at the end of the day, the reason why I really thought about doing this was, for the last year during COVID, the why of why we do this intrinsically and extrinsically has changed dramatically. And I have found people to be very motivated or very unmotivated within the sport, based off of their personalities. I'm going to assume many of you that are here today, because you showed up tonight, you're probably overly motivated, but maybe you're looking for your why. And I think it's important I'm going to go back a little bit. Is the very first part. Your why can stay steady, but it has to evolve. And no one can set your why. And I don't believe your why to be necessarily training goals. They can be that extrinsic. You want to swim your 500 a little faster. You can, your FTP goes up, or your 5K time comes down. But I think as you're looking for the new year through COVID, getting back into racing, moving forward, I think the why should be personal. I think the more personal you can make your why, the more likely you are to continue to train and train successfully and enjoy your training. And when I first got into QT2, Kate Snow was my coach. And I'll never forget it. And I say it all the time. And I forget it even personally sometimes. Enjoy the journey. And I think it's important with your why is to not always look at the end result, but enjoy the moment that you're in and that day. To enjoy the workout that you're in, even if it's a terrible BST, 10-minute all out, low cadence, uphill workout. There's something to be said for being there and giving it your best on that day, and just feeling grateful that you can, because sometimes in your why is you're injured and you can't, and then all you wish you could do is exercise. So one of the things that I do when I know I got those really hard workouts, I always say to myself, you know what the alternative could be? I could be injured and I could not be able to do this workout, which would be 1,000 times more painful to many of us. And another quote that I have on my phone, I said, today I will do what others won't, so tomorrow I can do what others can't. And that's not necessarily like racing at the high end or qualifying for Kona. I like feeling fit. I like feeling healthy. I like being active. I think swimming, biking, running I like all three of them. I know we do have just some runners. We have just some bikers. Me personally, I like all three. You know, I'm getting to the age where my kids are in the early 20s, and you know, I'm probably going to have grandkids in the next 5 to 10 years. And by doing all these things, being physically fit to enjoy them. That's how my why has evolved over the years. Does anybody have anything they'd like to say? Did I hit it, or did I miss this presentation and what your expectations were? Anybody?
Hi, Tim. This is Leslie.
Hey, Leslie, how are you?
I'm doing okay. I guess I struggle a bit finding my why, but I also struggle. It's like when I'm let's say I'm training and I'm in, it's like I'm in the basement. So it's not like it's fun. It's outside. It's whatever. I'm on the bike.
Right.
And sometimes I just find it hard to apply that why. It's easy to say, oh, well, I could do it tomorrow instead of today, because it's not like it's going to make a huge difference. And, maybe I just don't have a well-articulated why, which I definitely don't. But it's kind of like, how do I make it stick? Day in, day out kind of thing is where I struggle.
And that's where that intrinsic why, I think, kind of comes in. The reason why you're really doing it, and I get the struggle of I'll just do it tomorrow, or I'll flip stuff around. Generally, they're in a particular order to maximize your performance. For me, especially indoor, I find that indoor bike rides, and I know they're excruciating for many of us. And many of us create these really awesome pain caves. But the why does come into effect, and sometimes it's just it's so much mental, and it's just kind of keep persevering mentally and keep reminding yourself of the real reason why you're doing it, whatever that happens to be. Leslie, it could be for family, it could be for yourself, it could be to reach Kona, it could be just to get better. And you're going to have those, just like you've raced an Ironman before, Leslie. You have those dark moments out there at mile 15. What keeps that one foot in front of the other on the race day is that same kind of motivation you have to bring to those long bike rides where no one wants to sit downstairs, and you have to figure out 100 different ways to distract your mind from looking at a TV with music or YouTubes and stuff. But for me personally, my why on those days was always, when I went to that starting line, I didn't want an excuse. I'm being very personal here. Most of this presentation has been very personal. My why, I have been very fortunate enough to have very good coaches and qualify for Kona. But my why in training, you can't think that far out. You can't do it. What my thought was, what are my competitors doing? Would my competitors not finish today's? And if I get to that starting line and somebody beats me by a couple minutes for my Kona slot, am I going to look back on my longer workouts or some of these things and have regrets? And so mine was not to have, I wanted to go to the starting line, the best shape I could be in, and let the cards fall where they may. And if I didn't make it, then I knew I put my best foot forward. That personally, that was my why. That's what got me through those, 3, 4, 5. I've even done a 6-hour training ride one time. Every year I do 1 or 2. I mean, they're brutal. You can watch a whole season of Game of Thrones on a but that was what got through the times I just didn't want to pedal anymore. I'd look down, I just tell my legs to stop. It was kind of like, mile 15 on an Ironman run. What makes that foot go in front of the other rather than just sit down on the side of the road and go home? And I can't define that for you. That's kind of what this is for. So I think creating some real, sincere, heartfelt, personal whys.
I think 2 things that you said that I noted were, one was write them down, and the other one you kind of implicitly said tell people about it. Tell people that then all of a sudden you're more obliged to do it. Like if I start telling people I want to get to Kona, well, they're going to start asking, so when are you going to Kona? Well, gee, I don't know. I missed my 5-hour ride because I didn't feel like doing it yesterday, so then you feel a little more accountable.
Absolutely. 100%. It's funny that you said that. I did imply it, and I don't necessarily, I do it myself because I do hold myself accountable. So
Yeah, I'm counting on you winning your age group in Mount Tremblant.
I'm going to try. So thank you for sharing, Liz. I hope I helped a little bit. I don't know if I did, but I think writing some down and I think letting people know your goals are two great ways to help with your whys. Does anybody else have a question, please? Anybody? Bueller? Anybody want to share what their why is for this year would be greatly appreciated before I kind of, we kind of finish off. I did this all last week and I definitely talked in a totally different way than I am today with actual people. I wanted people to kind of share to help me understand their whys. It'll help me in two ways, maybe help motivate me. And as a coach, it helps as well. Every day I try to learn something. No. Okay. I tried. All right.
Okay, I'm going to save you, Tim.
Thank you.
So part of my why is remembering always that I can do hard things. And in life, I face lots of hard things, right? We all do.
Yep.
So even when I'm going through a workout, I just have to remind myself, yeah, it's hard, but I can do hard things. I can succeed at hard things. So that's part of my why.
I appreciate that. Yeah, some of us have like those little motivational quotes as our why. That's our gentle reminder on those hard days of what we're doing, why we're doing it. Like I said, on my phone, I literally have on my screen is today I will do what others won't, so tomorrow I can do what others can't. Like I said, it's also family. It's also showing our kids things. So it's all those little things kind of mixed into one. And sometimes if you write them down, sometimes if they're on your phone as a gently reminder. And sometimes it's just looking up new ways. And sometimes, like I said, it's training with other people that are slightly better than us to push us, and opposite sometimes to train with somebody that you're slightly better to. And as you're helping them, it helps re-energize your why, and it helps you reaffirm your knowledge and giving back to the sport. Like I said before, I bring an extra bike pump to transition. A lot of what we do is giving back to people and humanity within the sport. I gave my bike up in the middle of an Ironman race. A guy was on the side of a road. I was having a bad race. I had Lyme. I didn't know it. So about 25 miles into Lake Placid, a guy was on the side of the road. His whole derailleur was broken off, and he had nothing. He was stuck. He was full panic. I got off my bike and I gave him my entire bike with my shoes and everything. And I walked his bike and we met up later. And we are like best friends. 10 years later, we've actually raced Kona together. We're that similar in speed. And he lives in Canada. And so part of my why is when I'm out there, giving the little kids a high five, thanking the volunteers, think about the thanklessness of being a volunteer at an Ironman race. They're phenomenal people. So part of my why is also giving back to the sport that has given so much to me as well.
That's a great story, Tim, giving up your bike. I've not heard that one before. That's really extraordinary. Wow.
Technically, I guess it's illegal.
Yeah, probably.
But it was at Lake Placid. It was about 25. It was at the bottom of the big steep hill. He tried to shift wrong, and he ripped his whole derailleur off. And he's a super, super awesome dude. And like I said, I waited for him at the. I didn't even know. I couldn't even remember what his number was when he took off. I just sort of remember what he looked like, and yeah. So it was really cool to help somebody on a great. And the greatest part was he actually that day was doing it for a charity, and the fact that he finished, and he raised a lot of money for his charity in the process, made me feel even better.
Yeah, for sure. Good job.
I'd like to more or less share of the WHY. I've been putting a lot of thought into the why for the last couple of weeks. And I just love the activity of training for these events, because it's always like when I was running marathons, someone told me the best part of a marathon is training for it, because if you didn't do bad, you'll probably hope you do better come the marathon. If you do good, you're going to be excited about doing it. It was just something, I don't know, just always kept it up there. And then you come in the marathon and maybe it didn't turn out so well, but what I did love about marathons was that festive feeling after, you finish and, and you have all these cynics in this circle of recovery I have. I've been Alcoholics Anonymous sober for 34 years. I'm not anonymous.
Excuse me, if I can just, I just got a text from Tim saying he got disconnected. So you're welcome to talk to us, but he's not going to answer you.
Well, that's okay. I'm not here to impress him anyways.
Okay.
But yeah, I switched addictions all right, because that's a positive atmosphere. Not to mention the positive atmosphere of the people that's involved. Your athlete friends, some that they were there, some that weren't there, the volunteers. I love to volunteer. I love to volunteer just about as much as I want to participate, because I do have a camera and I take a lot of nice, pretty action photos of the folks. But it's just the positive activity of it all. And I'm an old man. I'm 68. In 92, I went to truck driver's school. And instead of training 5-6 days a week, which I'm doing now for the past 2 years, I'm 5-6 days a year. And I had my share of running into oppositions and just, people just couldn't believe he could run 26 miles. Now I'm more or less at the point of, this is my main reason as to why. It's more or less as a tribute to those who have already crossed over into the afterlife that supported me in sobriety and sports, because they always believed in me and I don't want to let them down. And hopefully this year I'll get up to the half Ironman distance, and September 2022, I'm gonna do it. And just take it 1 mile at a time. I just love it. Everybody's just, positive influence. I can't go wrong.
Absolutely. Thanks for sharing, James. Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think one of the things is the camaraderie of those that we train with. Yeah, we have, where I am, we have a community, from sprints all the way up to Ironman. But we see each other in the pool. We'll arrange to run together, whatever it is. That's a huge, benefit, motivator, social outlet, which is tremendous. And I think a huge part of this sport.
Well, I could have kept talking.
Well, I guess if Tim is not signing back in, we're probably drawing to a close.
Yeah, I think he just sent me a text also saying he's been booted and I don't think he's going to be able to come back on. But it's nice to meet you all. I'm kind of new to QT2, so, and
Yeah.
I just moved down to Sarasota, so I have the privilege of being with Jackie Miller quite a bit. And like you just said, it's such a community, and I've always kind of avoided the group thing, but I'm trying to put myself out there and do the group thing. So, and so far, so good. It's been pretty positive.
Do the group thing. Yeah. All right. Okay. I'll sign off. Good night, everyone.
Bye, everybody.
Thanks.